Oh, it's Independence Day, folks. Welcome to the show. It's July 4th, the 4th of July, but I like to call it Independence Day because that's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. 4th of July doesn't really connect the dots for some people in this country because they haven't been taught much about the 4th of July. It's just party time and barbecues, drinking beer. No. It's not. No. It's much more than that. We're going to get into that today. We're going to talk about how these people, the revisionists, have trying to destroy the 4th of July. They want to get rid of the 4th of July, or they want to get rid of Independence Day. Okay? And that cannot be allowed to happen. And on this show, we're going to push back and we're going to reach out. We're going to show some another program today. We'll have a little bit of Mark Dice. He has an interesting show he did. So we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to bring in Eric Thompson, the producer extraordinaire. Look at that. It's 1776. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe not. We the People. How are you?
Doing well. And, putting this show together, it's frustrating. So I'm looking forward to the day, but I'm also looking forward to doing the show so we can point out that we've got our work to do.
Yeah, it's a somber day today. It's a somber day, and it should be. But look, it's the birthday, of our independence, and this should be a glorious, happy day, and we should just be, it should only be that, okay? But instead, it's not. It's a somber Independence Day. But we're still going to celebrate it. We're still going to talk about all the good things for sure, but we're also going to talk about the things that aren't true. The disinformation that's going on, the disinformation that's been teaching specifically the youth of this country lies. Fact. So we're going to talk about those things today. And first, I want to start with Mark Dice. Do you have that loaded up, Eric? Mark Dice is a very, very popular social media podcaster. He's obviously an influential person online. He's got some funny stuff, but he's also edgy. He'll also push the envelope. He's not afraid to get in your face. There's no doubt about that. And his title is today, it's an unhappy 4th of July for them. In caps. So you're going to see it right there. So play a little bit of this, and then I'm going to kind of give you my thoughts. So go ahead.
Happy Independence Day, everyone. Well, I guess not everyone. Everyone except for the communists and those whose distant ancestors were brought to this country long ago and went through some struggles so that they themselves could have the opportunity to live in such an amazing country, which they hate anyway because of white envy. People like this. I'm a Black American. Here's why I don't celebrate the 4th of July. This is from Reader's Digest, by the way, who just laid off hundreds of workers. And I would be surprised if the magazine is even still in print anymore or for much longer. But they wrote this op-ed. For many people in this country, the 4th of July represents some very ugly truths hidden within the fabric of America's legacy. Yes, ugly truths like the fact that if your ancestors weren't brought here as slaves hundreds of years ago, you would probably be cooking a rattlesnake over a bonfire for dinner tonight and sleeping in a grass hut on a dirt floor back in Africa.
I'm at the point with this country that, all this 4th of July decorations doesn't sit well with me because we're at a point where the American flag on any piece of anything hanging from your house, on your shirt, hanging from your car, on a sticker on your car, whatever, it looks racist. Like the fact that it was the symbol of the protests against masks, and it was the symbol for all lives matter and lives matter.
And the symbol of Donald Trump's America.
It's it screams racist to me. It screams colonizer. It screams, I don't season my food. You know what I'm saying? So,
I don't season my food. Is that some sort of anti-white slur? I'm going to have to look that one up.
I don't want to celebrate 4th of July anymore. 4th of July is officially canceled. I'm tired of seeing the 13 colonies flags everywhere in California when we're not a 13th colony. Also, 4th of July is overrated. Fireworks. And thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay, you're welcome. And thank you for not celebrating.
Right, that gives you the gist of it, folks. there's a lot there in that 45 seconds, whatever it was. There's a lot there. And, Mark Dice, he really kind of cuts right in, right or wrong. That's going to be interpreted many different ways. What a racist. It's unbelievable what he said. Did you hear what he said? And then it's also going to be, wow, that girl, what a moron that she is. What is she thinking that way for? Why don't you go back to where you came from? All this stuff is going to be out there today because it is not an exciting day for many, many people in this country because they have been lied to. That young lady, who's obviously black, she believes something that, again, based off the best lies. Remember, that's like a constant theme every show. These lies are based off of truth, but then they twist and they manipulate it. This young lady she believes that it's racist. She believes that, colonialism, how dare we celebrate this? And of course, Mark Dice says, well, if you weren't, if there weren't slaves here, you'd be back cooking and, eating snakes, that kind of stuff. So obviously he says that to get a rise out of people. And then she said it, thank you for going on my TikTok. And she said what she said to get a rise out of people, anti-American, no doubt about that. So the misrepresentation of our history and our liberty is rampant. It is everywhere. There's no doubt about it. Now, Eric, I think we're going to showcase some of that today. Also, some of the great history of this country as well, and the blood, sweat, and tears as that young lady's driving around looking like in her air-conditioned car in free America. Not having to worry about roadside bombs blowing up on the side of the road, or the Starbucks, having a terrorist attack, at least not yet. You get to live in a country that, is unperfect as it is still the greatest place on earth, no doubt about it. There's lines of people, there's millions and millions, and really, quite frankly, folks, billions of people that want to come to this country that not wanting to go to China and not wanting to go to Iran or about anywhere else. So what's going on? Why is this happening? Who started this stuff? How did we devolve so rapidly where now the youth of America, folks, heck, they wouldn't even show up to fight a war. Independence Day. I hope we focus on that a little bit today, Eric. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to jump right over to you, so I'll let you kind of go through the format. But the fact is that back then, in the olden days, in the founding of this country, people had to show up. They had to leave, most of them leaving their farms, getting engaged with the revolution because tyranny was on their front doorstep. And they said, I am not going to allow my life to be oppressed by a dictator, king, monarch, killer, King George III. So they showed up. I don't even know if that would happen today with the youth today. I don't know if they would. And when I say youth, it's really people up in their 30s and 40s now. That's how scary this is, folks. You have people, because of, like we've talked about before on the show, the way the CCP and Russia and other people outside this country who want to destroy the liberty and the republic, and then the internal forces that we're seeing more and more just with the Bidens themselves, and make no mistake, the Clintons are involved as well, the Obamas are involved, and then, hey, Republicans too as well are involved. The Bushes didn't help us too much, especially Bush 43. So I think that the world today, this country, if we had an attack or we had to defend ourselves like back in the independence times, back in the Revolutionary War, I don't know how many people would show up, Eric. I don't. And I say that to you as a Marine.
Well, according to the data from the military, the recruiters, less than 30% of eligible youth could even qualify to serve because they're obese, They have mental issues. They're on medications, and so that's your pool to start with. But yeah, they won't even fight for their right for free speech. They won't even right. They won't, most young people don't even want to that I'm running into will even fight for their own autonomy. They're part of the collective.
What they don't realize, Glenn Beck said it best years ago when he called them useful idiots. When we shared the same station on 98.9, the Big Talker, back in Austin many years ago, he would say they called them useful idiots. Why are they useful idiots? It's because that young lady, in that Mark Dice video that we showed from his show earlier today, she doesn't realize the things that she's saying and the things that she's fighting for, which is the destruction of the republic, is going to eventually end her life as she knows it. She's blessed. She's ignorantly blessed, meaning that she is so ignorant in understanding that the people who are she can only get away with what she says and still live a first world life because there's still enough people in this country that are defending her right to do so. And the people that she's going after are the ones that are defending her, even though they disagree with her completely. So she can't understand because she's been so indoctrinated by a crooked public school system and a crooked media and TikTok, CCP, thank you very much. Trump was right about that, no doubt about it. And she's going to end up, if her world is allowed to exist that she wants, first, this show won't be here. Mark Dice won't be here. And her life will be destroyed. She will be, in a sense, enslaved in a whole other way, which could be even worse than what she's complaining about that happened, a couple hundred years ago or so, the founding of this country 200, 300 years ago. The things that she's complaining about, it'll be far worse than that. As crazy as that sounds. So she just doesn't know, Eric, and there's millions of people like her in this country now.
Well, the Marxists and communists over the centuries, they've always wanted to erase history. So can you imagine if they were successful, if they were able to get rid of the celebration of the 4th of July, that anchor in our calendar that we are supposed to come together and celebrate? Yeah. You remove that, and then we just skip right through this. We go from Pride Month right past the day that's supposed to unify us into what? What is left then? If we don't have a flag to come around, the rejoicing in liberty, they've already removed God, so that anchor to the culture has been pulled out of public square. If you remove this idea that we have anything in common, then we are no longer united at all.
Well, that's the whole point of the enemy of this country forever, is to show the world that not only independence, not only liberty is bad, but now capitalism is bad. God is bad. The founding of this country was bad. And it's all a misrepresentation of history. And you know what? Let's go to break really quick because I want to get into this. I want to get into Independence Day a little bit more. We'll get into the history of it. I'm going to give you a quote from George Washington, folks, when we come back. From George Washington, that is going to completely change your history of the United States of America, because I'm sure you've learned some things incorrectly about George Washington. We'll be back. Welcome back, folks. Happy Independence Day, also known as 4th of July. We are in very, very, very tense times right now. No doubt about it. And go to craigbouchon.com, go to americaican.com, where we talk about that little pin right there, more on that and how we're going to help save the republic. And, today we're also going to read another letter from Letters to Trump. It's riveting stuff, folks. It's riveting. It's so interesting when you see what these people say about Trump now, but what they were saying then when they thought really they could get something from him because he was famous, I think Mario Cuomo's letter is going to be today. But as I promised, folks, I'm going to tell you something, a little bit of history about George Washington, the founder, the founding father, the first president, the man, the myth, and the mythical statements that he supposedly have said, or he was a slave owner, and you have to take the name of George Washington off the schools that are out there, and that's already happened in some areas, which is ridiculous because it's a misinterpretation and a misrepresentation and a dishonest explanation of what these founders really wanted. The whole world, and most of it goes back to slavery, folks. That's the top of mind thing right now. Reparations, which is obviously going to be unconstitutional. It's not going to happen. But if the argument is designed to make it so you hate Independence Day, the argument is to let you believe that you live in a racist country founded by racist white men that want to colonize the world with racism, and they could not wait to dominate the world with all of their racist rhetoric. But what's so interesting about that is all the things that they put in place were designed to get rid of racism, to get rid of slavery, to empower the meek. So their actions don't really show you what the enemy is saying about the history of this country. So case in point, George Washington. If you go to battlefields.org, this is great. I'm going to read this to you. So I'm going to look right here because I could not memorize this whole thing. But it says, the indispensable man of the Revolution, George Washington, owned hundreds of slaves. But during the Revolutionary War, he began to change his views. He wrote that he wished, quote, more and more to get clear of owning slaves. Men like Marcus de Lafayette and John Laurens, who adamantly opposed the institution, urged Washington to work towards the abolition of slavery. Washington wrote in 1786 about slavery that, quote, there is not a man living who wishes more sincerely than I do to see a plan adopted for the abolition of it. But there is only one proper and effectual mode by which it can be accomplished, and that is by legislative authority, unquote. Washington, though never took a public stand on the abolition of slavery, he described his ownership of slaves as the, in quotes, the only unavoidable subject of regret. When Washington died, he made an important statement to the nation and freed the slaves he owned in his will, the only founding father to do so. So, what does that mean? It means that, look, the whole world was owning slaves, okay? Europeans had slaves. The people that came over here had slaves. Black people had slaves. White people had slaves. There was white slaves in the world. There's Asian slaves. There's slaves of all kinds. There's Irish slaves. Slaves are everywhere. So it's the misrepresentation. Our founders knew that slavery was a problem. They learned through being able to see they've never been free before, if you think about it. The experiment is that all people can be free. Can you believe that? All people can be free. And then it sits back on their conscience. They go, all people could be free. What about the slaves? Well, those are people too. They should be free. And they set in the structure of the United States of America that we celebrate on Independence Day today. They put a structure in place. in the Constitution and in our legal system, in our judicial system, to destroy slave ownership. That actually led to what? To a war, right? The North and the South. So George Washington, though he had slaves, freed all of his slaves and also believed that it needed to go away. So, Eric, that's what that young girl doesn't know. She doesn't know the truth that we showed earlier in the show.
Well, no, she was in a vehicle that sounded quiet, so probably pretty nice. She was recording on a streaming cell phone, a smartphone. It's $1,000 computer because of capitalism, because of technology, and she was dressed and looked good. So she's comfortably driving down the road in a car, basically saying that she cannot tolerate a flag that says police are good, that America is good. She's not going to tolerate that and put up with it. But yet, like you said, in most countries, if she spoke against the government like that, she would go to prison.
Absolutely right.
Let her try that in China. Oh yeah, or Korea, or anywhere.
Try that in Iran. Try that in Russia. Give me a break.
In England, they have social media police. They actually would have tracked her down within a couple minutes via her phone and thrown her in jail if she would have said anything they objected to.
That's right.
So she can say whatever she wants. She can call anybody she wants, anything she wants. And because of our Constitution and the liberty we have, she can do that. But yet she thinks that for some reason the underpinning of our country is the problem. She just is clueless.
She doesn't know. She's
right.
Look, at some level, folks, she's a victim. I'm telling you, she's young. She doesn't know what she doesn't know. She's been indoctrinated. She has, look, I've said it before, and I have to say it again. The United States of America is under attack, for sure. We're in World War III right now. We have a country that has been infiltrated at multiple levels. And the largest indoctrination of anti-liberty, anti-America outside of China and Russia and Iran is the public school system. The public school system is completely infiltrated with people who are revisionists. It's a fraud. They're not telling you, as Paul Harvey used to say, the rest of the story. It's like when people pick through the Bible, Eric, and they try to make false prophets from false doctrine from picking through the Bible. Well, people are picking through the history of this country, not telling you the rest of the story. That's why we're talking about this today, as this is a somber 4th of July. And it's sad to me, but it is. And there were people back in the day, when you look at kind of the history of the song that we sing and the Declaration of Independence that was signed, and the Star Spangled Banner, the history of this country, folks, was fought by people that were so brave that when we break down the words of the song, do we have that?
Yep,
Eric.
I got it.
When you break down the words of the song, I know you were looking back at this, and we were talking about it before the show. And I have seen this story before, but many people have not. And for sure, that young lady has not. So what are we going to see here about the Star Spangled Banner?
Well, this was a compilation put together by just a YouTube person named Mona Rose. It had over 21 million views.
Wow.
Now, what stands out about this, and we'll play a small segment of it. It's
11 minutes and 38 seconds. Wow, this is something to watch.
But when you have time, go and watch it in its entirety. But there's people from Nigeria, Korea, the UK, New Zealand that watch this true history of where the American Star Spangled Banner, where the national anthem came from, what it took, what happened to get to this moment, and they weep. They're not even Americans. They don't even know anything about. They didn't know anything about our song, but the history. So this is a small segment here. This is during the War of 1812, and the British are coming back, and they still want this country.
Of course.
So even though the men who signed the Declaration of Independence, their lives fell apart because it was worth taking the risk. Here is when the flag, the British are telling the Americans, if you take your flag down, we will just take back over the country. You'll be our servants, and we'll go back to like it was. But this is what they were willing to do for the posterity and for our nation. So here is a small segment of the Star Spangled Banner as you've never heard it.
As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, "Tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us." 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling, every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, "It's still up. It's not down." The admiral came and he said, "Your people are insane." He said, "What's the matter with them?" He said, "Don't they understand this is an impossible situation?" Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees. The admiral said, "We have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down." He said, "We don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that." But he said, "Now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point." Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer, "God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it." Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when it had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies.
So I just thought I wanted to remind people that people have died, they've given up everything, and they have knowingly taken risk for the sake of liberty for those, their family members, their grandkids, and for future Americans. And yet here we are today with people like the girl in the video saying, "I can't handle a flag that says police are good, that the military is good, that America is good." So that is, I want to remind people that there's people around the world that watch that video in its in its total 11 minutes are so moved to tears, and they're not even Americans. What's wrong with half our country?
That's right. I thank you for putting that together, and we have to send that out. Just put that out through the show page, or let's put it out there. Let's tweet, twirl it, all that. Put it on Spreely. We'll share it out because you need to watch the whole thing. It's fantastic, folks. But it's about sacrifice, ladies and gentlemen. It's the sacrifice. It's disrespectful. These people who stand up and lie about this country, and it's from President of the United States, and it seems to always be 99% of the time the Democrat Party that always finds faults with the greatest country, and they're the ones who are bringing the country down. They're the ones that have set precedents for decades to oppress people. And yet they think that they can stand on top of the metaphoric bodies in the lives that they've destroyed for decades, folks, and say that they're the liberty fighters for democracy. For democracy. Democracy is the enemy of this republic, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care if it's Tucker Carlson saying it. I don't care if it's the president saying it, the senators saying it, any local talk show host in your area, or any national syndicated person. When they say democracy, it is a misrepresentation of what those people were fighting for in 1776. This country has allowed for too long way too many people to have a voice that are spewing lies. And that's a fact. And we have got to push back. And that's part of the show today, okay? And one of those lies, I want to go right down because remember I wrote from battlefield.org, great historical site about the history of this country. And I want to say really quick here, I'm off script, I know right now, because we have some things we want to get to, but it's important because we talked about George Washington, and then who's one of the most scrutinized founders of this country? Well, it is actually, for sure, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner and had hundreds of slaves. The man, and I'm going to read this to you so you can see what I'm talking about, that you need to know the truth, the good, bad, and the otherwise. The same man who wrote the very words, "All men are created equal," in the Declaration of Independence owned hundreds of slaves all his life. He also may have fathered children with one of his slaves, Sally Hemings. Despite this, he still wrote how he believed slavery to be a political and moral evil, and how he wished to have the institution abolished. Jefferson felt powerless to change the situation and summed it up near the end of his life as, quote, "We have the wolf by the ear, and we can neither hold him nor safely let him go. Justice is in one scale and self-preservation in the other." Despite his wish to end slavery, Jefferson never personally freed his slaves. When he died in 1826, his estate was in so much debt that his slaves were sold off to the highest bidder. As the founding generation passed on and as slavery continued to expand and grow in the Deep South, slave owners began to speak of slavery less as a necessary evil and more as a positive good. Events such as Nat Turner's 1831 rebellion in Virginia soared many Southerners' views of gradual abolition as they viewed slave uprisings as a threat to their society in the South. Okay? Democrat stronghold South. Okay? Flash forward to why we had to have a war for independence of slaves in this country. It's not the only reason we had the war, by the way, because please don't go after me and go out and say, "Oh, Craig, it wasn't just about slavery." No, it wasn't just about slavery. Okay, for sure. But Lincoln knew that it had to change. And he took a bullet for it, right? So, yes, our founders had slaves. Yes, some never, like Thomas Jefferson, wrote about how he felt he had no power. Okay. And yet, look how powerful he was, but felt he did not have the power. Okay. And then, what did we evolve to? Evolve into a better situation is what? When did that happen? How did it happen? Well, it happened when what? Think about it for a minute. When we move on from Independence Day, we move on from the founding of this country, and then what do? We go to the Civil War to civilize this country, led by who again? A Republican who left the Whig Party. Why? Because the Whigs and the Democrats were like the same party. Kind of feels that way today, doesn't it, folks? They were like the same party. And then he leaves the Whigs and goes to the Republicans. And we're going to do a whole history on that. I shouldn't say a whole history, but we're going to give some detailed information to let you understand the truth of why this country, you should be excited and you should stand with absolute dignity that you live in America, and that country right there helped the rest of the world be free. And those parts of the world that don't want you to be free are our enemies. Ladies and gentlemen, as we sit here today on Independence Day 2023, and we look in your own states, you could be the state of Michigan, you could be the state of Tennessee, you could look all over this country, state of California. You have leaders that are horrific people, like the governor of California, that is absolutely hell-bent on the destruction of the republic. But we also have states like Tennessee that does not have leaders at the government level like that. They're allowing CCP, our enemy, the enemy, okay, that doesn't want the republic to be here, behind TikTok, indoctrinated that young girl from Mark Dice show that he showed this morning. They are being allowed to infiltrate our country by our leaders on both sides. There's not much excitement there on this Independence Day when you're letting the enemy into your country. There it is right there, Gordon Chang. Chinese agents are slipping across Biden's broken southern border. That is your sovereignty, ladies and gentlemen. Look, when we fought for our independence, it was about sovereignty. It was about drawing a line around that country right there. If I can point at it right there. There's a border around that country. That's our sovereignty. It is our independence. That's what we celebrate today. In these revisionists that twist and manipulate history, don't want you to know the true, complete story, are why you have so many youth today that hate America, that would never do what these 5 people did. You know, there were 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence that were jailed by the British, jailed, tortured, and then killed. You know, it kind of reminds me, we're going to talk about these 5 people, kind of reminds me of what Jesus, the followers of Jesus went through, right? Weren't they executed, heads cut off, tortured, as they went out to spread the word of liberty and freedom and sovereignty as your individual person with free will? Do you see a connection there, Eric?
Well, it's a simple fact of they were ambassadors for the king, and we as the patriots are supposed to be ambassadors for the Constitution, liberty, but we're not. And when good men fail to be involved, then evil prevails. And
that's right. All it takes for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing.
And that's what's happening.
Do nothing. Yeah. So what about these 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence that were jailed, tortured, and killed? What do we got on that?
Well, there's of the 56 who signed, all of their lives collapsed. So there's a whole sequence here of let's see what happened. Carter Braxton of Virginia was a wealthy planter and trader. He went so far into debt that he basically died bankrupt, lost his properties, and died in rags. Thomas McKean was so hounded by the British. Now, this is just for signing the Declaration of Independence.
That's right.
He had to move his family all over the place. He did not get paid by the Congress. His family stayed in hiding, and eventually he lost everything, and poverty was his reward for signing. You've got, there's all of them. There's a guy named Francis Lewis. His home was looted and gutted. His home and properties were destroyed. His wife was thrown into a damp, dark prison for 2 months without a bed, health ruined. Lewis soon died from the effects of the confinement. His son would later die in British captivity. Also, Richard Stockton rushed back to his estate and got his kids and became refugees in the country. And they end up getting thrown in jail, and they died and almost starved to death in the process. That's just a handful of them, but of the 56 men who died, their lives, they lost their health, their fortunes, and all they had left was this desire for liberty, this burning.
So the 56 people who signed it and the 5 that were tortured and executed, they stood up for what they believed is the only thing that can help people across the entire world. The promotion of liberty, independence, sovereignty, and then that your rights are given to you by God or a higher creator. So mankind can't oppress you like you're seeing today. We covered the 2030 yesterday. If you didn't see that, go watch yesterday's show. And we're going to cover more of that tomorrow because we couldn't get to it all. I mean, it is unbelievable what's happening with the WEF. And all of this stuff is connected, folks, to why today is a somber Independence Day. We are under attack. We are still at war. And the average person does not understand where it's coming from or how it's happening or that it's even happening at all. People are trying to be convinced that this is kind of your new normal. You're just going to have to get used to this way of life. This is just the way it is. And that is incorrect. That is a lie, folks, an absolute lie. So when we come back from the break, we're going to continue today. We're going to talk about some positive stuff also about why you should be so excited about today, what you should be teaching yourself and your family. And look, it's a beautiful time to be an American because we are here on purpose. As this world gets darker and darker, we are supposed to become brighter and brighter. As the world gets darker, we're supposed to get brighter. That liberty torch must shine bright. When we come back, we're going to talk about how you can get more engaged as well to help keep that flame from going out. We'll be back, folks.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took MyPillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented MyPillow to bring you the best pillow in history, MyPillow 2.0. Because of all of you, MyPillow 2.0 has been a huge success, and now we're bringing you our best-selling Go Anywhere MyPillows with the same temperature-regulating technology. Made with my patented adjustable fill and brand new cooling fabric, they're truly the next generation of MyPillow. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save over 60% on our MyPillow 2.0 4-pack special. You'll get 2 MyPillows and 2 Go Anywhere MyPillows, regular $259.92, now only $99.98. King size just $10 more. This is a limited time offer, so please order now.
Welcome back, folks. It is Independence Day 2023. I am so glad to be with you today. I hope you're having a fabulous time with your family. And look, we are so blessed to be in this country. Look at that world up there. Look how big that world is. There's only one place I want to live, folks. There's only one place that I want to live my life, and that is in the United States of America. And it's because we have the best model for human beings than anywhere on earth. This country needs to be so proud, okay? Talk about Pride Month.
They are not
We should have-
listening to those calls.
Oh, where are we going here? I love it. Oh, well, there we go. We got, I hope, some places, Eric, you're going to show something here with the fireworks, illegal fireworks. Wait a minute. Look, and some of you watched fireworks last night, and some people will watch it tonight, okay? But fireworks are a huge, huge part of the celebration, okay? And it goes back to the Star Spangled Banner and the whole 9 yards. But I got to know where you're going with this. I don't like what that says there. Illegal fireworks. Oh, I got to hear more.
This is in
tell me more about this.
2020. We're going to be positive to finish the show. In 2020, Gavin Newsom told California, where I lived at the time, you could not do fireworks. No fireworks this year. So the people who were, part of the population was wearing masks. We were all feeling like we were in communist China. But here is what in Los Angeles, a news helicopter was flying over to see if anybody was going to still do fireworks. The fireworks you're going to see are from the average American patriot in Los Angeles. They gave
beautiful.
the proverbial big finger to the governor of California. So here's a quick summary of what happened during COVID on July 4th. Is it going to play?
I don't know. They don't want you to play it.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to recalibrate it, and we'll try it again here. But
I personally love.
Well, they're
here we go.
warnings on social media. I mean, they're saying safe and sane are even banned in the majority of cities in LA County, not to mention the city of LA has a ban as well. We know many of the public shows have been canceled, so we've done stories on this. More people have been, unfortunately, setting off illegal fireworks. I mean, it is quite the sight, but this is not supposed to be happening. I mean, you could be fined up to $50,000.
We'll keep the past 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so, and there are massive fireworks going off pretty much in every direction that you see here.
So I wanted to remind, just like with the founders who signed the Declaration of Independence, there's still a spirit of liberty alive in the country. I mean, that was Los Angeles, fines possible, and an edict from the Marxists and Sacramento saying you shall not celebrate our independence. And thousands of people in Los Angeles said, jump off our bridge.
That's right. Look, that's one great way of pushing back against this oppressive modern Democrat. They're not Democrats, by the way, folks. They're not. They're Marxists, and they want to get rid of, they're following Karl Marx. They're following the Communist Manifesto. They're following Sun Tzu's Art of War. They're following Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Okay, they have the Devil's Playbook, and this earth is a devil's playground. And so as we end the show today, I want to end it on a positive note, like Eric said. And I love seeing in California, we think of California as this, super majority, far left community, people leaving in droves, but there's still many, many people that are trapped there. There are refugees, if you will, they're got to get out in their mind. They are oppressed, and they pushed back. Okay. And I think probably nobody was arrested and probably nobody was fined. And if there was, how ridiculous, take that to court. I think that they would win. But the threat, though, was there. So in this country, ladies and gentlemen, it's about us. It's about we the people. It's we the people. It's the hat, 1776. You see people wear it, right? And it's I wear it because it reminds me of what I did not do in the founding of this country. I wasn't here. Okay? So what can I do now? Well, one thing I can do is I can have respect like we've had today for the people that have sacrificed their life, like the 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence, and I think he said 56 others that they had horrible lives after that, but they did it anyway. And we saw the Mark Dice video earlier showcasing this young lady that was a black young lady that obviously looked like she was living a pretty okay life, but hates Independence Day, hates the flag, and she lives in California. She's one of those indoctrinated kids, and that's sad. But the great news about being in this country, folks, is you still have your Constitution. You still have your Bill of Rights, all 27 of them. And we've developed something, and I've talked about it several times. We've talked about, where you can go, what you can do, and you go to americaican.com. Okay. And there's a plaque you can get if you want. You don't have to, but this is one version of it. This is the Citizen Oath. You'll see it on the website. You can go down, you can sign on it, and it's super easy to do. And then you could, if you sign it, take a screenshot, whatever you want to do. You don't have to buy anything if you don't want to buy anything. But we have these plaques that are laser etched that you can get, and it has my signature on it right here. And it's a Citizen Oath. And it's to remind me of what my job is as an American citizen. How can I get engaged as an average American who works all the time? You've got your job to do. You're so busy. Well, the big thing that you can do is understand what your job is as an American, and then show up to vote. Let the people that are in office that are supposed to represent you, that are allowing all these tyrannical things to happen today, that you're not going to take it anymore. Okay, so that's what we're doing with American. This is the Citizen. This is a candidate, another version right here. Again, it's laser etched again. So there is something we can do, folks. We're going to unite together. We're going to be this collective union of liberty, defending Americans. You'll see that little American pin right there. Okay, imagine that when the candidate signs the oath. Okay, and you sign the oath, and then one day I'm wearing my American hat, or I've got my American pin on, and each one of those politicians can wear that pin. They signed the oath. And I'm going to read you the candidate oath really quick so you can see you can hear what it says. It says, "I solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. If I am found to have broken this oath, I expect to be removed from office by my electorate, so help me God, solemn declaration." That is a very, very important oath, because at the end, it expects that you and I will hold them accountable. Well, why? How do we connect them together? Well, we have the Citizen Oath. The Citizen Oath says this. It says everything is the same, okay? All the way till you get at the end. So at the end where they say, if I am found to have broken this oath, all right, ours as citizens says, as it gets to the end, if the candidate I vote into office is found to have broken their oath, I will work to remove them from office by impeachment or repeal, so help me God, or solemn declaration. My signature on there. That's why I do this show. I do this show because I want to help that movement happen. So you go to americaican.com, and it's exciting. We want to team up with everybody out there who's pro-America, pro-liberty, pro-Constitution. That's our wheelhouse, folks. And any of those people out there that are trying to indoctrinate our youth, that's the enemy. Anyone who's trying to destroy the republic, that is our enemy. We are in World War III right now. And you have a lot of lying and cheating and stealing going on. And you can see what's happened with the Trump administration, right? So I promised that I would read what kind of the misrepresentation of what Trump has done and what they're saying he's done in the past, what he's guilty of now. And they've manipulated your minds by giving you bad information, dishonest information. So there's a great book out, quite frankly, and it's kind of actually it's funny, really. Letters to Trump, and I promised every day we're going to read a letter. Yesterday was Nixon, saying that his wife said that if he ever ran for office, he would definitely win. So I'm going to skip through here. It's a great book, by the way. It's put together very nice, great pictures. And so as I skip through, Governor Mario Cuomo, here it is right there, Mario Cuomo. This is the letter right there, okay? What does it say? June 25th, 1984. Dear Donald, thank you for your recommendation on the Buffalo Sports Stadium. We certainly appreciate you coming forward and donating both time and energy to the public service. It is your kind of spirit that reassures me that New York has a bright future indeed. Mario Cuomo was a big supporter of Mario Cuomo. I never asked him for anything because what he does, he writes what he thought about the person as well. So that's a good part of the book, and it's great. Look, and it doesn't mean you have to be Mr. Pro-Trump. You just need to be pro-facts, pro-truth. The truth is not hate speech, folks. So we're going to go through some of these people liked Trump and still like him today. Many of them like Trump but hate him today. At least they act like they hate him today. They were really, really nice to him while he had The Apprentice, when they could get something out of him. And as soon as he went to defend you, folks, we the people, he's the enemy of the state. In fact, in the media, it has really, really helped that happen, where people like that young lady don't even love America at all. And so it's sad. So that's a letter right there, Governor Mario Cuomo. And look, folks, there's a lot of good news. We are blessed to be alive today. We're blessed that we have an opportunity to do just like our founders did, and that is set a course for this country that is unlike any other place on earth. But there's vulnerabilities with freedom. There's vulnerabilities when you have liberty. When you have an open society that allows people to do just about anything they want, unless it breaks the law, right? We're a nation of laws, not men, not mankind. We are nations of laws. And so when we see those laws not being upheld, and we see, the sovereignty of this country, which is the basic tenet of your oath of office, is to keep this country safe from foreign and domestic enemies. There's problems, right? And it's a very scary time, but it's a blessing that you get to live in this country because you can do something about it. United, we will win, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you, we will win united. If we allow this next generation to be raised the way that young lady was, with on the Mark Dice show this morning, we are going to have a big problem because we have way too many people in this country who don't understand why they should love America. So today, please share this show. Share the truth with people. Share that you are engaged. Sign the oath. Go to americaican.com. Show people that you are engaged with the future of this country. And the future of this country is us. It doesn't matter what age you are. It's about us. It's we the people. Remember, Benjamin Franklin said, folks, we have given you a republic if you can keep it. And today, just like we showed, I think it was 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, when this anti-American governor said, you can't shoot off fireworks, and they did it anyway. That's a stand. That's unity. That's a celebration. Do not fear what these people are saying. Stand on the rock of Jesus Christ and the message that we get in Scripture, and then stand on the additional foundation that our founders gave us as a republic, as a democratically elected representative republic. It is to the republic for which we stand. Folks, God bless. Can't wait. See you tomorrow. Have a good time. Be safe. Keep all your fingers. Sparklers. That's all I do. I just do sparklers. That's it. I'm not doing anything else. God bless, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.